when I feel like it will be like detrimental.
Hey everybody, this is
And
Kendall
I
Lenice, and
don't
welcome
make the
to
right
More Than Just a
decision, like
Movie.
even with
Who
who I
will
feel like I
cry
made
for
the
the
wrong
little
decision
boy?
in the
Who will
past.
cry
Like
for the
I
little
know
boy
sometimes with
lost and
like
alone?
my
Who will
like
cry for the little boy
schooling stuff
abandoned
and like
without his
major,
home?
like I feel like I made the
Who will
wrong
cry
decision in
for
the
the little
past. So
boy?
now I'm like,
He cried
okay,
himself to
should I
sleep.
go into this major? Should I go
Who
into
will
that
cry for the
major?
little
What should I
boy he
do? What are
never
your
had for
opinions? What do you think?
keeps?
What do you like about
Who will
it?
cry for the
Or
little
like if I'm
boy
at
he
work
walked the
and
burning
I'm making
sand? Who will
a
cry for the
choice
little
for a
boy, the
client,
boy inside the
I'm
man?
scared that I'm telling them the
Who will
wrong
cry
thing,
for the
even though
little
I know
boy
the
who
right thing
knows
is.
well
So I
hurt
have to
and
keep
pain?
asking like my
Who will
manager,
cry for the
is this
little boy?
right?
He
And they'll be
died and
right,
died again.
but then it'll
Who
be a
will
slight
cry
chance
for the
that
little
I could have
boy?
said the wrong
A
thing.
good
Like I'll
boy
say
he
something and I
tried to
think it's right,
be.
but it's
Who
wrong.
will
So I
cry
have
for
to
the
like
little
one ask
boy
like five
who
different people,
cries
like, is
inside
this
of
okay? Is
me?
this right? Is this and I need
Man,
to
oh
feel
man, we
like
are
I need
talking
five
about
opinions or I don't
Antoine
even let me
Fisher. Who
be.
will cry for the little boy?
I don't
The
have that
first
much
time I ever saw
experience
that,
with
I
it. So I
cried
want to ask like
my
five
eyes
people,
out.
how would you feel in this
I can't
situation?
watch.
What
This is
time
something
did
that I
God
can't
do
watch
anything
on a
good
regular
or stuff like
basis.
that? So
And
like
I
I
just
need
went
more
by what I know and remember for this
advice on
show. And I
that
watched
because I
a
don't
couple of
know or I
refresher
feel like I don't
clips,
know.
but
And I
this
feel like my
was a
opinion is going to be
powerful
right because I
movie.
don't have that
In
much
June, we are
experience.
spotlighting Mr. Denzel. Do we even have to
So
say his
yeah.
last name? Because everybody know. We are spotlighting
But on solid
Denzel
days, like how I want
Washington.
my hair,
And
how
Leroy and
regardless
I
if I want
decided
straight
to
nails, I feel like
start
I don't
with
need
the
to really
movie
ask. Like
Antwone
some people will be like,
Fisher.
"Oh, is this cute?"
This
But
is
it's
Denzel
just I know
Washington.
I'm
He
going to
not
tell them
only
I'm going
does
to
he
ask.
star in the movie,
It's
but
just
this is his directorial
putting myself
debut.
out there with it
So
is what
this movie
makes me
came out
nervous,
December
but not
19th,
what I like a little bit.
2002.
So yeah.
The budget was 12.5 million. In the box office, it made
So that's those
$23.4
kind of things. A little
million.
more like
So
after
that's
like
almost
that I feel like
double.
it's more like
The film was inspired by a true
like for
story
now.
with the real Antwone
If I don't get it
Fisher,
right.
credited as a screenwriter and based on his biography book. The film was wow. So this is a true story. The whole plot of it is, and I'm going to read it for those that don't know or those that have not seen this movie. Oh, this is a disclaimer. We're going to talk about different parts of the movie. If this is your first time tuning in, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. You can even do that live. But this will be a spoiler alert because you should have had seen
Because I think even
this.
like when I
But
got
it
into
focuses on
an issue
Antoine
with my
Fisher,
phone.
a
So
temperamental
I'm like,
young
oh my
man, it
gosh, should I
says,
have like
who
have
is
to ask
serving
like
in the
other
U.S.
people like,
Navy.
oh my
His
gosh, should
father
I
was
ask you
killed
like
before he
this
was
or like
born,
can
and
I
his
make the
teenage
right decision
mother,
to
Eva
not reach
Mae
out or reach
Fisher,
out or
ended
stand
up
up and
arrested
scream
soon
at a
after and put
party
in
or should
jail.
I just stay
When
laid
she
back?
gave
Like, you know,
birth
like
to
kind of stuff
him,
like that
he
where I
was
feel like
then placed in an
I don't know
orphanage
how to
until
ask
such
you
time
a
as
situation or
she
what
was
do you really
released
say
and
because I
couldn't
feel like
claim him.
when I did
Since
this, it
she
was
did not
wrong.
claim him at the age of 2,
Or the
Antoine
person was
was placed
upset
in
and
a
they're making me
foster
feel this. So I'm like,
home run by Mr.
I
and
need
Mrs.
advice.
Tate. We're
I
going to
need
talk
help.
about them.
Like I
Antoine suffers
obviously
years
what
of
I'm doing
physical
is
and emotional
wrong
abuse from Mrs.
or wrong
Tate's
in their eyes.
hands and molested by her adult niece,
But I
Nadine.
definitely
He finally
want
leaves
to
the
do
home
better
at
with being like, okay, I
14.
made the decision,
After
they
living
were
on the streets
upset,
for the
but
next few years,
I
he
stick by what
decides
I
to
did
join
or
the
who I felt that
U.S.
was
Navy.
wrong
They
and I
said
couldn't
he
do that.
left the
You know,
house.
like
She put him out
having that
because he
solid
wasn't taking her abuse no more.
base, that
The rough
foundation.
life
Like,
he had as
yeah,
a
what I did was
child
wrong.
has
Like, I know a
caused
lot of
him
different
to
answers
have a
are, or
violent
like, I don't
temper.
think what I did was wrong.
After
Like,
getting
and
into a
standing
fight
in
with a
that, like,
fellow sailor, Antoine is
being able to be
sentenced
like a
at
solid
the
person.
captain's mast
Like, I
to
don't
be
think I'm like
demoted,
a person, but
fined, and
just being like
restricted
more
to the
like
ship for 45 days.
solid in
His
who I am,
commanding
in
officer
my opinion. So I feel
orders
like
him to go to psychiatric treatment. This is where his life begins to change. Antoine goes and meets Dr. Davenport, who attempts to get him to open up. Antoine is at first extremely resistant, but gradually comes to trust Davenport and opens up his
okay.
traumatic
Sounds
childhood.
good.
Meanwhile, let me just skip on. Cheryl.
Okay.
Meanwhile, his fellow sailor Cheryl. Uh, let me go down. Cheryl is Cheryl is in a relationship with Antoine, and she encourages him to go on and get some help and explore what's going on. So I don't even want to go on and on and on and on, but that's the gist of the movie. All right, Leroy. Antoine Fisher. You want to say
Yeah,
something? This is
Nah,
Dr.
it was.
Quincy Jr.
I think it was.
Mhm.
It for his, especially for his debut directorial. It was such a powerful, and to think that it is a true story, and the real Antwone Fisher I was reading, he was a security guard on, I think, Sony Studio, whoever it was that were the distributors of the movie,
Mhm.
um, and they, from what I was reading, it said they started to hear bits and pieces of his story,
Mhm.
and it piqued their interest about being able to do it, so they offered to buy the rights to it. So, I guess they worked out an agreement with him with that. And then I don't know how Denzel got connected with the story, as a movie to be able to direct.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested in hearing that story, how you got
Yeah.
connected to do that.
And I remember
Um,
when it came out, they talked about that too, and I can't remember.
mhm, mhm. Yeah. So, because with him becoming, I guess going in that direction and being a director,
Mhm.
I don't know if it happened with this one and with the Great Debaters,
Mm.
or if it was just the Great Debaters, but they wouldn't do the movie without Denzel being in it.
Right.
That's what they said. They didn't do the great. They weren't going to do. They wouldn't do the Great Debaters without Denzel being in it. So he had to figure out what he wanted, what part he was going to play. And I don't know if it was the same way with this movie, Antwone Fisher, as well too. But both of these movies fit him being in there, and
Yes.
not just being a director. It just,
Yes.
the pieces kind of just fit together with
Yeah.
him playing the roles that he played. I just thought
Yeah.
it was absolutely brilliant,
Yeah.
that he decided to not only direct it, but also to be in it, which I know that's got to be extremely difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being a director and and in front of the camera,
'Cause you got
you
to
know,
direct yourself.
right? And I mean, it just seems like that's a lot to have to handle. But I mean, hey, it's Denzel, so he can handle it, and know he can do it. But
But then it's
but
like
it's
you got to come
interesting,
out of your character to be
right?
the uh
Yeah,
the director. Like
right,
you come out of
right.
Dr. Davenport and then be somebody else
Yeah,
and then go back.
and then telling the other actors what they, paying attention to detail. That's
Yeah.
what, to me, I think directors are able to do, because
Mhm.
they look at it from afar, not from an actor's perspective, but from a bigger picture perspective,
Mhm.
to be able to look at it. So that had to be interesting. And if I could ask Mr. Washington one question, it was how did he handle being a director and the actor. And since this was his directorial debut, what that was, it difficult, or was
Right.
it something that he just kind of flowed into, and that he thought would be, especially for your first project out? I mean, I would think I would be tunnel vision. I got to
Yeah.
direct this thing. I got to make sure it's right. I got to make sure, and not have to worry about a particular character that
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
play. So
But
yeah,
what a beautiful, beautiful, great movie to have as your first.
yeah. How about that, right?
Like this, like is a classic. It's so heavy and
Yeah,
it's so deep. Like I watch movies like over and over and over again. But this is a movie that's so deep and so complex and so honest and so real. It can be exhausting in the best way, but just like whew, like relatable. It's so many different powerful scenes in this movie. But I'll start with something light. Let's just talk about the ride or die kind of woman he had. You know what I mean? And helping him, Joy, helping him through,
oh, okay, okay, okay.
Antoine and seeing. And as a life coach, I just gotta say this. So many issues that you have today are from your past traumas, the ones that you know and the ones that you don't know, because your body has the trauma, and sometimes your head and heart forget. So for him to be acting out and them saying, you know, something wrong with you, you need some help, you fighting, you angry, you mad. Some would say he's disruptive or bad or no good or all of that. And I just believe that. And this show ends up showing every little step and seeing why. But I believe that people are the way they are because of the trauma in the past that they've been through. And he's a prime example of that. And so he goes to see Dr. Davenport, and he's supposed to just get 3 sessions. But anybody that's been to therapy, anybody struggling with anything knows that 3 sessions is not enough. So that powerful scene when he was like acting out, when Dr. Davenport went to him and was like, the sessions are over. And he was like coming into the, remember he came into his office like 3, that's all you get. 3, that's all you get. That's so much pain. It's because you finally find somebody that you can trust to open up to. And then it's like where he doesn't like rejection anyway. He feels like everybody's walking away from him. So even in the professional capacity, which they definitely blurred the lines, and he really became his son that he needed. You know, Antoine became the son that Dr. Davenport really needed. And Dr. Davenport became the father that Antoine needed. And we'll talk about that powerful scene at the end when they, you know, talk about that. But let's talk about that for a minute with Antwone Fisher and the heaviness of the burdens that you carry. And then we'll talk about Miss Tate.
Well, the thing of it is with, and I'll deal with Denzel's character first. What's his name? I don't know, Dr. Davenport.
Dr. Davenport. Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing, because you just talked about the 3 sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a professional. This is what he does every day, all day. He's dealing with an Antwone Fisher every day.
Mm-hmm.
He gets an Antwone Fisher every day, being, you know, in the military. So to him, Antwone Fisher was just, hey, 3 sessions, boom.
At first,
you know, right? At first, exactly. At first, it was this is just another case I got to deal with. But you know, like you said, I think that scene that we'll talk about, that's when it changed. That's when it shifted. Because before then, he was like, look, you know, at first he was like, look, we can be here as long as you want to, because if you ain't talking, we got to do 3 sessions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so whenever you decide you want to talk, that I can do an assessment and an analysis, then we can, you know, the sooner we do that, the sooner we can get this over with. You know. And Denzel was like, look, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Devil was like, I'm gonna finish my work because I got some other cases I need to be writing notes on and stuff like that.
But
and he went on about it.
But when he storms in and talks about those 3 sessions, and when Antoine says, what am I supposed to do?
Yep.
Woo!
That's when that hit him. Woo! That's when that hit Dr. Davenport. That I've got somebody different here.
What am I supposed to do?
This is somebody. Yeah. This is beyond somebody beyond the 3 sessions.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you don't open it. It's difficult. And you see how hard it was, like you were just saying, Leroy, is when he wouldn't say anything. So now I finally say something, and now you saying after you didn't,
and now you just
all of these wounds, and now you leave me butt naked, like sitting here with all these emotions and feelings and these past memories, like 3 sessions. What am I supposed to do? And you see the little boy. And if you just tuning in, I read Who's Gonna Cry for Little Boy. I'll read it at the end.
That's a deep poem too. That poem.
Woo-wee.
That poem is
Well, we forgot to talk about the people who's in it. Sally Richardson.
Yeah.
You know, you want to do that part or?
Well, yeah, we can. I mean, as we said, Denzel plays Dr. Jerome Davenport. Derek Luke plays Antoine, the older Antwone Fisher.
Brilliant.
Joy Bryant, and I love her. I was thinking about her because I knew we were talking about this movie, but I loved her in 50 Cent's movie too.
Yeah.
Get Rich or Die Trying. She's a good actress.
I like her.
Yeah, I like her too. She played in something else. She played in Honey.
Honey and Glitter too. So
Honey, I said glitter. I'm just messing
Don't
with you.
even go there. Honey, the first one, the honey with that southern one was
Yeah.
garbage. I'm sorry. Well, I'm trying to figure out who Corey Hodges was. Do you know who that is?
He was no, but the name sounds. I can't remember who he
But
played.
because the only thing I saw, it said Antoine, I think Fisher beside his name, so I don't know what character he was playing. I thought he played the little Antoine Fisher, but the other young man, Malcolm Kelly, played the little Antoine Fisher.
Yeah, and Malcolm Kelly is a
And
singer. He's an actor. My daughter loves him in his group.
really, okay,
But he's
okay,
like he's multi-talented. But he played the young. Yep, the young
yeah.
Antoine.
Of course, Sally Richardson, and here's one that I didn't know originally.
Viola.
Yes, I had to go back, and I was like, "Wait a minute, hold up, hold up,
Ooh,
hold up, hold up,
okay.
hold up."
All right,
I
so
was like,
let's talk about that scene.
"Yeah,
Let's talk
that's
about
another deep
that
scene."
scene when
Yeah,
he meets his mom finally at the encouragement of Dr. Davenport. He's like, "You'll find the answers. You have to meet your family." He like,
yeah,
they gave me up. Like, I don't want to meet them. I'm good with it.
right.
Even though he had a horrible upbringing, which we'll talk about, Miss Tate and her niece, you know. And kids always see a hard time. So he goes to finally meet his mother, who is Viola Davis, and she acts without saying a word.
Yeah, yeah,
A
that's
word. But you could see the guilt on her face. You can
yeah,
see the shame on her face. You could see the hardness. And it was in silence. That's
and
what
his
you forgive somebody. And when you are free on the inside, he did all the talking, Antoine did, and he began to be free. It didn't, and I love the fact that it wasn't dependent on her and what she said. And then that one
and
glory tear came down at the end. Go ahead. Whoo!
no, I was just gonna say the only thing that Viola says or Eva says, which is what any mother, grandmother would say, "You want something to eat?"
That's it.
That was all she said. That's the only thing I remember her saying. And she went into the other room because she broke down
Ooh.
and then ran into the other room. And like you said, he came in there and he just, I think he asked her, "Why did you give me up?" I think that was the only thing that he really asked her, you know. And it really was. That's acting when you can
When you don't,
say a minimum words
because
and
that whole
you're
time they were on the couch,
yep,
she didn't say nothing.
nothing,
And so
not a
Antoine
word.
was really acting to himself. That right there. But
Yeah,
that's how you free yourself. That was so powerful on both ends. Because here you have Eva Viola Davis. Here you have her, right? You
hmm,
can see the guilt again. You can see the hardness. You can see the shame. You can see so much in her face without saying a word. And
yeah,
then you have Antoine, Derek Luke, which looks so cute in this movie. This was on his first as well. Um, he had to free himself. So
yeah,
when you free yourself, it's not dependent upon if somebody accepts it, agrees, what they say. It's about you binging and purging and getting everything out that you have to get out in order to heal. And he
yeah,
did that. And I love the fact that they showed that and it wasn't based upon if you said something.
yeah,
Then this is
yeah.
what I feel. Whoo, child.
Yeah, and I mean, and the thing is too, even when he gets back on base and he talks to Dr. Davenport about it, he said, "I did it. I met my family," and he says to him, he says, "I met my mother." He said, "But if I never saw her again,
Mm-hmm.
it wouldn't it wouldn't matter because,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, he had dealt with what he needed to deal with, and just knowing it was like a finding out, knowing who you are. Okay, I found out what
Mm-hmm.
who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I found out who I am.
Mm.
Found out who I was." And don't get me. I know that don't get me started on the scene when he comes back from meeting her to the house,
Whew, go
and
ahead. Talk about it.
and
We
and everybody is there.
okay, so let's talk about that. So let me just say, let me set this up and then I want you to talk about it because I wrote that part down.
Mhm.
And I always say this. I don't know if you've seen this on my even face, my social media. I always say this. Everybody wants to be somebody's baby. I know I do. You know what I mean? When it comes to your family, when it comes to whatever, everybody want to be somebody's baby. Meaning everybody want to feel that unconditional type of love where somebody is treating you special in your family, whether it's a mother, father, like you want to be somebody's baby at any age. So when Antoine goes into that house and he sees all of them people and they like, I'm cousin this, I'm aunt this, I'm aunt this. Just the joy and just his, that's such a black seed, wasn't it? Like a black family.
I
That
know,
was,
right? And they got them folks together real fast, didn't
man, when he went up in there and they was like, I'm of this, I'm of that, I'm of this. And him and his girlfriend
and
went
she
up.
was sitting there. That was so beautiful. Her
Oh
sitting
my
there with
God.
them.
When they
Yeah,
and then he felt that love that
yeah,
it was like he never lost it. Like
yeah,
he felt that love and the acceptance and
yeah,
to be somebody's baby. You know what I mean? To feel
yeah,
like you matter, you're special, you're important. And that's how he felt for the first time in his life. He felt like he belonged. And they made him feel belong. Then they opened that door to the elders and the food. And
The food, the food, the food, the food.
look at you, Leroy, talk about the
I'm
food.
hungry. I'm hungry, and I just ate.
Woo-wee. When he came in there and they welcomed him. So
Yeah.
I just love the fact that Dr. Davenport, like as a life coach, I can really relate to this because Dr. Davenport heals by helping him heal. And it's been plenty of clients that I was talking to, but then I was talking to myself, healing those parts of me as I heal them, because that's what it is. It's a mutual kind of exchange. And I love the fact that as a therapist, because I have to debunk this all the time. As a life coach, that don't mean I got a perfect life and I got all the answers. People think, and even family have weaponized me over that. Family members that said, well, you're supposed to be a life coach. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff, like, oh, so nothing is supposed to fall apart when nothing is supposed,
And
you get what
see,
I'm saying? And I've been weaponized with that. So I love the fact that he shows that just because this is your profession and this is what you do, you still are a person too. And as he was helping him, he was helping himself. Man, when he was like at the end, well, we'll talk about that. When he said, you the champ, woo! But go ahead, Leroy.
nah,
Powerful.
it
Powerful.
just is. And like Antoine told Dr. Davenport, he said, he said, you were right. I needed to find them. And he had to find them for himself. So going through that journey of finding out who he was important. And Dr. Davenport knew that for him. He knew that he had to do that. And that just shows how we have to understand that, the importance of knowing who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And you were talking about it too, being a life coach, and then Dr. Davenport being a therapist. And I tell my authors this too when it comes to those authors that are writing their story.
Mm-hmm.
I said, and I tell them when they're writing their story, it's going to take you back
Yeah. To some
to
painful places.
to those painful moments, all of those emotions that you
Mm-hmm.
went through. Just like Antoine, all of those emotions that he had drummed up were
Mm-hmm.
right there with him when he was sitting on the sofa
Yeah.
with his
Whoo.
mother.
Whoo.
Every single thing that he had dealt with was sitting
Because
right there
every
with
boy
him.
needs his mom, no matter how old he is. Like you still need that love
Yeah,
from your
yeah,
mom. Period.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
if it's just for a moment, you need
yeah.
it.
And even Antoine's story, him going through that journey, Dr. Davenport, by seeing Antoine go through that, he freed Dr. Davenport up to deal with his story. And that's what
Man,
I tell authors
about him not having
when
a
you
child, and then now this big
yeah,
child comes into life, and even but the support of a woman too, Denzel's wife, how
mhm,
she was keeping it real with him. and was like, now basically, why you sitting there acting like you lying to him, acting like everything perfect and everything? Remember when they had that conversation
Mm-hmm.
about
Mm-hmm.
Antoine? Whew.
I mean, it's when you tell your story, you free up someone else
Mm-hmm.
to live theirs.
Amen.
And
Amen.
that's what Antwone Fisher did for Dr. Davenport. He freed him up to be able to live his story and to deal with it. He was able to, like he told Antoine, I was able to cover it up,
Mm-hmm.
do everything needed to do for my wife,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't do it for himself. The
Mm-hmm.
very thing that he needed to do, in addition to doing it for his wife, was to do it. He didn't do it for himself, and
Mm-hmm.
he hit it. And part of that, I truly believe this, that even though it's a true story, but I'm sure Dr. Davenport and you as a life coach and everything like that, and this has to do with us as men, because we're told to not show emotion. That if we show emotion, we're soft, we're
I hate
vulnerable.
I hate that,
You
y'all.
know, we're told
I
that
hate
big boys don't cry. I mean, this is from little young boys.
I hate
We're
that.
told we're told all these things. So I'm quite sure that was that was the reason why he felt as if he didn't have to deal with it. I'm Dr. Davenport.
Yeah.
I'm the therapist. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I don't need help. You
Yeah.
know, I'm
Yeah.
I'm the man. I'm supposed to be the man.
Yeah.
Instead of and to me, here's the thing, brothers, if y'all listen, the strongest man is not the one that plays this tough guy.
Come on, Leroy.
The strongest man is willing to say, I'm not okay. And I have to deal with this, to be emotional and to say, you know what? Yeah, this thing is hurting me.
I'm about to throw
This
this at
thing is eating me up inside. And we have to be willing to do that,
you. Mm-hmm.
willing to say that. And that's what Antwone Fisher, when he came into the office, he's like, what am I supposed to do with this? I got
Mm-hmm.
all these emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And I open up to the one person who's telling me that I have to talk to him.
And he
And then when
leaves
I
everybody
yeah,
else.
and then you
Woo!
leave me high and dry.
That scene when they were in that bathroom and he said, everybody's always leaving me. Let me tell you something.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
felt that in my feet to my soul
Yeah.
because nobody likes rejection, but some people have an issue with rejection because
Right.
of the past. And I
Right.
believe, like, I've been doing the work in my 40s, I discovered that I do.
Hmm.
So when I was watching it before, I didn't, because it came out in 2002. But I have been actively doing self work and just being better and better and just looking at different things, even with me. Like, do I respond this way or do I feel? So when I watched those clips again, when he was like so emotional, like everybody is always leaving me, and even if somebody dies, you feel somebody left you. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? Or if
Yeah.
somebody's never been there, you feel like they left you before you even knew it. Or if somebody just leaves. So it's so many different emotions with that this film is so powerful. It's every exchange with Dr. Davenport and Antoine. Every exchange was through the roof. Powerful. And
I
when
just
Antoine goes to his house, and I just wrote this, I said, when you think you don't belong to anyone and you discover different. That's what went through my mind when he opened that door and his family was like, cousin this, cousin that. And I was like, when you think you don't belong to anyone and then you discover different. That's almost like a meme. Like when you think you by yourself and you don't have nobody on this
hmm
earth that wants you or that is attached to you, you open up that door, your life is totally. But I believe he wouldn't have been receptive to all of those people and open enough if he had not done the work.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm
prior
saying?
to that,
Like
right?
he could have
Right.
not had lasting relationships. He could have came in there swinging. Well, where was y'all then? Now, why are you trying to come now? I don't want to be this. You ain't my cousin. I wasn't listed. You didn't help me. I blah, 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 blah. You get what I'm saying? But because he did the work, he was able to go into that environment, cleanse and heal, and starting from that day forward. And that's what I do as a life coach with my clients. You're healing. In therapy, you go all the way back. This is the difference between therapy and life coaching. With therapy, you go all the way back, right? And you
Yep.
attack the traumas to see what's happening now. So as a life coach, I still touch on those because if you are a procrastinator, I want to know where it came from. Or if you feel unloved and have low self-esteem, then take me back to a place, but it doesn't stay there, right? With life coaching, I'll go back, but then I'm like, okay, this is the present day. How can we move forward with a better life? And he, man, oh man. Whew.
Yeah, the thing of it is, I think that, and like you were talking about with therapists, they they get back, and this was the thing that I liked about um the Yana Van Zant show, and her, she went beyond the surface level. She actually did exactly what you were talking about, tracked and found the origin of the hurt, or what needed to be dealt with. Where did it start?
Yep.
What's that beginning point?
Yep.
Let's get to the beginning point,
Yep.
and we have to get there first
Yep.
in order to be able to begin the healing. Because if we
Yep.
don't get to that origin of where it came from, then that hurt will always be there. So I like that you talked about that. So when we think of ourselves and we think of anything that we're dealing with on that kind of level, you've got to go back, because I
Yeah.
promise you, like you were saying, it's there.
It's there. And even
It's
if it's subtle, and even if
Mhm.
you don't think it is, because you might not, you go back and be like, well, why? Because I like to see, like, why I have the behaviors I have, or why do I
Mhm.
react this way, or why
Mhm.
does this make me extra sensitive, or why? Like, I like to know, because like nobody can tell me anything about me that I don't know.
Right.
And not because it's because I have done the work. I have looked at different things. You know what I mean? Because that's how you're better. You got to look at certain
Mhm.
things and then you grow from there. It's just so powerful that he took him on that journey, because somebody that they was pretty much ready to throw away. They was great throw
Right.
Antwone Fisher away. He's
Yep.
crazy. He got a hot head. He an angry black man. They were getting ready
Mhm.
to throw him away. And Dr. Davenport sent him a life jacket. He was drowning in his own pain and suffering. And let's okay. And this is makes me sick, but we're gonna talk about Miss Tate. Um, when you're adopted or in a foster home, and you don't know what can happen to those children, and a lot of people just take foster kids for the money.
Yep.
Sometimes they don't give a darn about that kid, whether they progress, whether they're better, whether they're healed, whether they're taking them for the money. And then it's a curse, because then their hurts, the foster parents hurts in trauma and all of that, it gets dumped on those children often. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some great foster parents out there. We already know, and shout out to all the good ones. But unfortunately, the bad ones make it bad and have the reputation of that. So she abused him in every kind of way, even calling him NIGGA on a regular basis, a little kid. Like, she abused him verbally, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, and then sexually from Nadine, the niece. And he was like, I was 6. It's so powerful. And this is a trigger warning for some. I should have said that in the beginning. We're talking about Antwone Fisher. And him just when he goes back to the house and he's going around confronting all his past and hurts. And he goes to the Tate house, and Nadine answers the door, and he's like, whatever, get Miss Tate, because he wants to really address her. And of course, she's trying to psychologically abuse him and gaslight him and everything she was doing. He said, He said, listen to me. This is my time. When he said that, and he tells her what she did to him, but when he says, I'm still standing, she don't know what to say because she put him out at 14.
Yep.
And to know that, he's still standing when he shouldn't have, and he was able to, how many times are you able to go back to the people that hurt you in order to heal? Powerful, like so many powerful. That's why I can't watch this movie all the time. It's too draining, but it's amazing work.
Yeah, I mean, even and I don't I don't know if you had wrote this down or you wanted to touch on it, but I wanted to touch on Antoine and Cheryl, even how he dealt with meeting her because they weren't together at the beginning of the movie.
No, let's talk about
Um,
it because it was beautiful.
yeah,
She was a
and the
soldier
way that
too, a Navy
he,
woman or whatever.
came to kind of be with her, and the assistance that that Antoine had to get in order to be able to even approach her through Dr. Davenport. And I love that session where he was, and it was like you were saying, it was like a father son relationship because he was teaching him life experiences, life things. And he Dr. Davenport asked him about if he was seeing somebody and this, that, and the other, and he told him that it was a young lady that he wanted to, that he met, that he liked, but he wasn't sure how to approach her. So they role played, and it was funny because they role played, and he was like, you gonna get something to eat? Would you like to go get something to eat? And Denzel played the role of Cheryl. He was like, well, I can eat. And so when he goes to
Oh,
approach Cheryl and he asks her out and she says, I can eat, all he can do is just laugh
right.
because he knew it was what exactly what the doctor had told him
Yeah,
that she would, that she might say. I thought that was just so cool.
yeah,
It just triggered him. It's like, oh well, dang, she said
yeah,
that.
yeah,
She said exactly that, and
yeah.
and just them building their relationship and how excited he was, and just her saying yes,
Mm-hmm.
you know, her saying yes, and he was, when he was acting out, well, yeah, she my girl, and this, that, and the other, and that. I was just like, that's honestly, that's how we act.
Mm-hmm.
That is how we get. Y'all think it's crazy, but even and real quick, even in the movie Malcolm X, when Malcolm is asking Betty to marry him
And we're gonna talk
over
about
the
that. That's the last movie we're gonna talk about.
yeah, over the phone, and you see him,
Giddy.
he's asked her, and then he kind of when she says yes, that anticipation, and Antwone Fisher was like that too
Yeah.
when he asked her, and she's like, I can eat. He was like, okay,
Right.
now I can move forward because
Right.
I got that hard part over of
Right.
asking out whether or not she'll say yes or no. But even their relationship, and like you were saying, just how Cheryl, she was along for that ride.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, I'll help you find your
Mm-hmm.
family
Mm-hmm.
and say
So
whatever we need to do. And them going through the phone book, you take,
mhm.
it was just the whole thing. She was down for all of it.
It was
You need me to
beautiful.
go with you? You
Yeah.
know?
And remember when they found him, they were like, just that whole beautiful. Ooh,
Yeah.
go ahead, but go ahead when she said, you want me to go with you? And what did he say?
No, no, just yeah. He was like, yeah. He was, because he had asked her if she had time or whatever, and and she worked it out so that she could, so that she could be with him, and they traveled together. And I thought that was huge. She was like, yeah, I'll make it happen,
Yeah.
you know, and made it happen. And then them, even finding his mother, they had almost given up on that. They had almost given up on that. And he makes that one. That's why you never know.
You
You make
can't
that
stop
one.
prematurely.
Yeah, he made that. You make that. You never know if that next phone call is going to be the one, or for my ball players, if that next shot is going to be the one that goes in
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to win it. You got to
Or that
keep what you
dream
keep
when
going.
you're ready to give up. That next
Yeah,
project, whatever that is, could be the
right.
one.
All of it. That next client that's coming, that could be the one.
Mm-hmm.
All of it. And his who he finds out to be his aunt, who is from what does she play in the 70s? Was she on the Jeffersons?
Yeah,
Was she the second?
I'm trying to
Was she
picture.
the second? Um, what was the daughter's name?
Oh, Jenny.
Was she one of the Jennies?
I
Because I know
gotta
there
picture
were
her face. Let me picture her face. Let me look.
there were two Jennies and there were two Lionels.
Yeah. No, it was
And I'm
one
trying to
Jenny.
remember.
It was one Jenny and
It
two
was only
lines.
one. Yeah, it was only one Jenny. Okay,
Yeah.
then that wasn't her. Then that wasn't her.
No,
Then if it was only one Jenny, but she played in something else other than the Fresh Prince.
I'm
It was
trying
some
to think what her name was. I'm trying to picture who that was. I'm trying to think.
because
You talk
her name is Verie Watson.
Yes, she was in Good Times. I mean, she was in What's Happening. You
Was
remember when
it?
she was in What's Happening? She was like Rerun's girlfriend. She been acting for years.
It's
Burnett
something else. It's
Hudson.
something
She
else
been
she was
in the
in.
70s. She was in a lot.
Yeah, and I can't remember. I don't know why the Jeffersons came up, but
No,
I just remember her from. It was one of the big
she was on
shows.
Good Times. She was on, of
She
course,
was
Fresh
on.
Prince. She was Fresh Prince mom.
Yeah, yeah. I'm talking way before that. I'm
On
talking about, like you said, in the 80s or
She was
70s.
on Good Times. I'm going to pull her up. She was on Good Times. She was on She was on the Jeffersons, but she wasn't Jenny.
Okay.
She was on Carter Country. Remember that? I used to watch that. You remember Carter Country?
That one.
1977 to 1979.
No, that one doesn't ring a bell to me. Maybe
Or
if
if
I
you see it, you'll know.
never remember.
She been on so much
Yeah,
though.
she's been around for a minute, for a long
She
time.
Jersey girl. But I remember when she was on Good Times, but she's been on a lot.
What she play on Good Times? I'm trying to think of who she
She
was on
was
Good
one of the
Times.
guests. She wasn't not Good Times. I keep saying Good Times. She played on What's Happening.
And I'm even trying to remember who she was on What's
She
Happening.
was one of the girls in there. Look, I'll tell you.
In the restaurant with Shirley?
No. I'm getting ready to tell you who she was
Yeah,
with.
because I don't remember. But I just remember her being on. I can't, and like I said, I don't know why with the Jeffersons was coming to my mind, but
She
she
was
was in
on
some.
there, but she wasn't like a
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember. I have to look her up to see what show it was that I know she was on that I kind of remember her from. But like you said, she has a vast catalog as well too. But
so much.
when Antoine makes that last phone call, and it's her waking up in the middle of the night, and she starts to to ask him questions and tries to verify who he is and stuff like that, and and she's just like, well, if you who you say you are, then this is your
My
aunt.
nephew. Yeah, you is your
This is
aunt.
your aunt. This is your aunt Annette. And I was just like, I'm like, wow. But she's been in so much stuff. I just
Mhm.
remember her and everything like that. But that was even powerful. Just not giving up. Him not giving up and finding his family.
Yeah. And think about Derek Luke. This was his first movie and Denzel's directorial debut. And just think about the amazing job that both did. All
Yeah,
right, so I want to
absolutely.
do some trivia as always, and this is the part I like. Who tried out for who was going to be? All right, so for Antwone Fisher, Cuba Gooding Jr., Mackay
Oh
Pfeiffer,
no.
don't you gonna laugh at the next one? Ja Rule and Will
What?
Smith. They all expressed interest in the lead role. Denzel didn't want a star; he wanted to cast a newcomer, and that's why he did Derek Luke.
I like
And
that.
that was the perfect choice.
Yeah.
Denzel Washington also agreed to star in the movie mainly because he knew it was the only way he could get it financed.
Yeah. Yep.
So there's your answer right there because he had the name. It was Denzel, right?
Hmm.
Derek Luke. We know Derek Luke
Correct.
now, but we didn't know Derek Luke.
Correct.
So you got to get in it. So, but just man, oh man. All right. Antwone Fisher was working as a security guard, as you said, at Sony Studios. Studio executives began hearing about his life story and offered to buy the rights. But Fisher refused, insisting that he write a screenplay himself. Fisher wrote 41 drafts until he sold it to 20th Century Fox. All right, so
Wow.
many extras in the film were active duty U.S. Navy and Marine Corps personnel from various commands within Southern California areas. So when we see all of those military Navy men or seamen and all of that, they are real. So in between rewriting the script for Antwone Fisher in 2002, he was also writing Double O Soul with Chris Tucker attached to the star. And he sold that script for $1 million to Universal Pictures. Although the script had Brian Glazer, Image Entertainment on as producers and Mariah Carey attached as co-starring, it never came to fruition. But he did sell.
But he got his cut. He got his money's worth.
Right. So we talking for real. So he also did script doctoring on Chris Tucker's movies Money Talks and Rush Hour. So the real Antwone Fisher. So Antwone Fisher, the real one, was born in a women's prison where his mother was incarcerated. So I want to pause right there. So when we talk about the movie, and like I was talking about earlier with the trauma, he was born into trauma. His mom was in trauma and in jail when he was pregnant. She was pregnant. And one thing you have to know about trauma and healing, you feel what the mother feels when a mother carries. So he already was born into that. So he didn't think he had a mother, but the mother obviously gave birth to him. And you already have that. So you have to unpack it before you was a baby in the womb, and you don't even know what you're fighting against. So when people often say, well, I don't have no trauma in my life, they think about big T's. It's like big T's and little T's. So big traumas are the rape, those held at gunpoint, different things like that. Could be police brutality, all of that. But little T's could be a little trauma is your best friend from time you were 1 year old to 9, moved to a different state. That could be a trauma where you used to having this person all the time, or trauma. So people think that they don't have trauma, and some people are born with it. It's just deep. So Antwone Fisher went on to make a lot of movies and a lot of written projects. And I look at the Antwone Fisher, who they thought he's 62 years old now. The real one, Antoine Quentin Fisher, where they thought he was slow. Remember Miss Tate was saying he was slow, he was this, he was that. Like the words that you say to children. No wonder he grew up. If somebody is ruling the house like that, how is he going to grow up happy?
And see, that was the thing. And this is what happens even today in real life. When you have a child that's acting out all the time, there's usually a reason why.
Heck yeah.
And most times, most of the people today, just like back with Antwone Fisher, they're not willing to look into why. It's just give them some drugs and let's just keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? Dope them up and keep it moving, as opposed to trying to figure out what's going on with this kid.
Yeah, the root.
What's going on with them?
The root.
Obviously, something's rooted in there that is causing them to act the way that they're acting and doing what they're doing. And that was the case with Antwone Fisher. All of that anger getting into the fight with
born a bad children or disrupted child or a troublesome child. It's whew.
Yeah, and he, and of course, the only way that he knew how to deal with the situations that he was in was to deal with was to put that anger. Yeah. And actually, the anger wasn't even about the situation that he was in. The anger had to do with the situation with, like you said, what he grew up in, that foster care system. It was the anger that he was pushing towards his fellow seamen and everything, like the fishermen and the other Navy men, was all had to do with Miss Tate.
Yes.
and her daughter Nadine.
So if you don't heal it, then it's going to come with you everywhere you go. Every
Yeah,
room you enter, it's going to be a monkey on your back. You're not going to know how to function and relate to other people. You're not going to be able to fully be happy until you address the traumas of your childhood. Most adults are walking around in adult bodies, but childhood trauma inside of
yeah,
them. So that was the only way he could get out the pain and hurt, is by acting out. That's the
yeah.
only way he could get it out, because he wasn't introduced to psychotherapy or, psychiatrists or anything like that. If nobody introduces you to that, you may think, and if you don't have the right one, that's why having culturally competent therapists and coaches and all of that is so important. Because had he had I'm just going to be real, like a white therapist, he might
Yep,
not be where he is now. a
correct.
culturally competent a culturally competent therapist, who knew how to handle him and not reinforce the angry black man.
Right.
Like you said, he sat there and was like, well, you could just sit here. So of course you see somebody that looks like him, and that's already, to me, half the battle. You
And
see somebody
even
that looks like you, and you see a man like you, right? Now, it doesn't mean that you can't have other therapists that work great. But in some cases, if you're dealing with somebody that don't want to talk, you're dealing with somebody that is hard to connect with, and
no,
he talked to him real.
yeah,
Like,
and even when he had the MPs go and bring him into the office, he
he
thought Denzel said, "I thought you might need some help or reminder
right,
to come
right.
here." It was
Because
like, hey,
little boy, just like the poem, he was a little boy, like in a tough guy body, but he was really a little boy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was the way he kept his guard up. Was keeping people and getting into those situations that caused him to, to not have to not have to go through the disappointment,
Yeah.
you know,
What you say to me?
and the
Where they carried
rejection.
him in there?
Say it again.
You said they carried him in there.
Oh yeah, they brought him in. They brought him into the office. Brought him into the office. It's just like, yeah, and Anton, he had never, like you said, he was looking at someone that looked like him,
Mm-hmm.
that looked like what could be his father. And the same thing back with Dr. Davenport.
Mm-hmm.
You got this young man that
Mm-hmm.
comes in that would be the same age, probably I think as his son would have been,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and he had to face that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was just like they both had anger and both didn't know how to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was like, wow,
And it was
you know.
and both their angers and their hurt was displaced.
Yep, yep,
It was
absolutely.
deep. It was deep. All right, as we wind down, of course, I got to talk about the continuity mistakes, because this is a deep movie. So we're going to end it kind of light. But if you have not seen Antwone Fisher, it came out in 2002, December. You have to see it. If you're watching this is a spoiler. It could be two things. It could be a spoiler alert or the enticement for you to go watch the movie yourself. There are trigger warnings. So if anything has happened to you as a child, you're going through certain things, this might be a trigger warning for you depending on what you've gone through. So just know going in that it could be. But it also is about healing. It's about honesty. It's about just the realness of people and the things that happen, and also what you can overcome. And I just think it's powerful. So continuity mistakes, continuity means that it just wasn't adding up, like the math wasn't mathing, like something was wrong. For instance, after the Thanksgiving dinner, which was beautiful because he had never had Thanksgiving dinner
Hmm.
like that, so that was beautiful when his wife, Miss Davenport, invited him over. Go
I
ahead.
forgot. No, I was going to say I forgot. Jennifer Lewis was in this
Oh,
movie too.
of course she was, and that was a good scene. That was a good. It's always a good scene with Jennifer
I know.
Lewis.
You know, she gonna make you laugh. That she gonna make you laugh.
Jennifer.
She's like,
That's
I'm
why
just
we
asking the
spotlighted
questions.
her. That's why we spotlighted the mother of Black Hollywood. We did her and Loretta Devine. They the Black mother. So if you missed that episode of More Than Just a Movie, you got to go back and see that. But go ahead, talk about Jennifer Lewis.
Yeah, she just, I mean, no, just her part, the small part at the Thanksgiving dinner, and she all up in Antoine's business. I was just, and she's like, what I say? I'm just asking the questions. I'm just
Right.
asking the questions that we
There's
want to
always
know.
one. Look, there's always one like that you just be want to kick under the table.
In every family, all of us got one.
Like you
All of
want
us
to kick
got
under
one.
the table.
And if you don't see it in anybody else, then you just might be the one.
Look, and also they the ones that's loud if you kick them under the table. What I say, what I do. It's like you don't even know how to keep that under wraps. I'm trying to be discreet by kicking your shins, and you the whole. If I wanted a scene, I would have just said stop it out loud. But I'm trying to not use my words and trying to kick you under the table. But then you want to make it a scene anyway, so let's go. But during that scene, after Thanksgiving dinner, when Denzel and his wife are in the bedroom discussing Antoine, she takes off her necklace and puts it down. Then they cut to Denzel laying in the bed. When they cut back to his wife, she is taking off the necklace again.
Oh, I never saw that. Oh, wow.
So I gotta see. I might watch it this weekend again. So also a continuity mistake in the scene where Antoine is talking to his mother just a while after he sits at her side on the couch. He puts his hand over her shoulder very softly. In the next shot, the hand disappears from her shoulder. She probably
Oh,
pushed
wow.
it with her mean. She wasn't mean. She was hurt. She'd have been through some things, clearly.
Yeah.
So Jerome Davenport, regard without ill will despite of offense. The Webster's definition is forgiveness. When he did that, and then why do I have to forgive? Antoine said, and that's a quote. I'm sorry, that's not a continuity. So let me go back. So this is an Antwone Fisher quote. Regard without ill will despite an offense. The Webster's definition of forgiveness. And then Antoine says, why do I have to forgive? And Davenport says, so you can get on with your life. Whew.
Yep.
Woo! And then Antoine says, that is deep. And then, but it doesn't have to be, it's deep because it's simple. So you can get on with your life, you know?
I mean, and that's the thing that I think that's the thing that we don't understand sometimes in trying to move on. Like you, I'm quite sure you tell this to your clients, and other doctors have said that as well, that the forgiveness isn't for them. You aren't doing it for them. Mm-hmm. You're doing it so that you can move on.
Yeah.
So that you can move forward.
Yeah.
Because without it, you're like you were saying, you will always have that baggage with you. You always carry it with you if you don't, if you don't let it go.
Yeah.
If you don't allow yourself to heal and to deal with it.
Yeah. And I mentioned this quote, one of my favorite quotes, when he goes to Tate's house, and he confronts his past so he can heal his present. He said, it don't matter what you tried to do. You couldn't destroy me. I'm still standing. I'm still strong, and I always will be. And her face looked like, I was like, ooh, her face looked like it was about to fall on the floor. Like, no matter what, like, I'm still strong. He said, it don't matter what you tried to do. You couldn't destroy me.
Yeah,
I'm still standing. I'm still strong, and I always will be.
Whew. Yeah, and she sure did try and break those little kids that she had.
Horrific. There's a special place in hell for adults like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're right about that. And folks that mistreat kids, or even what we just recently dealt with. Yeah, how did you roll up in a school?
Oh, please, I don't even.
And kill 19 kids. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a special. You got the VIP card.
Yeah, you got Vaseline drawers on in hell.
Yeah, you for real. You sitting in the front row. He like, yeah, come on, right here. We need you right here. That's just unfathomable.
Right.
To that someone is that evil.
And
that
some
they would
kids get a
mistreat a
hard
child
time.
like that.
Let me
Yeah,
tell you something. You know, I work in elementary school, and the stories that they tell me and the trauma that they're
yeah.
going through now. A second grader, he asked me, he said, my buddy, he said, what is counseling? And I said, it's where you go to, show your feelings, express your emotions. I said, if you have something that you want to talk about and you don't know how to talk about it, or you don't know what to say or who to say it to, it's a safe place for you to talk about what you feel right here. And I touched his chart, it's like what you feel right here. And then he said, oh, and he said, I went to the counselor because my dad died 2 days ago.
Mm,
He's
wow.
7.
Yep.
And he always has hugged me. I said, you know what? I'm so glad that you went there. And I'm so sorry that you lost your dad. I said, I always got a hug for you. So anytime you see me, I got a hug ready for you. And he already was hugging me. I was like, I always got a hug, and he just hugged me all the time. Those kids just hug and love on me so much. And
Yeah,
everybody talks about what a great influence I am on them, but it's the other way around to me.
yeah.
How I
That's
see it.
and that's the thing.
Woo!
We
They
think
they
we think
always
that
talk about
right.
you. They be like, you are a fan. They always call me. I have a fan club in that school. They always say you are a fan favorite. You got a fan club. When I tell you, they literally knock me down, hugging me every single day from every grade. And they always talk about what I'm doing to them, but they have no idea. I'm about to cry. What they do for me
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
is
It's
more powerful.
yeah, and it really is, and we, that's why we just, we have we said what we said about kids,
Mhm.
because there's an innocence about them. They're the most vulnerable. Them
They
and our elders are the most
so innocent,
vulnerable.
so
Yeah,
innocent, and just talking, they're just so innocent. And I'm like, how can somebody play upon that innocence?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But that was, that was what happened to Antwone Fisher between Miss Tate and her daughter. But
Her niece,
believe this, I believe the daughter got it from the mother.
that was the niece. And I'm sure she did. And I'm sure
You
the
know,
mother probably did. The mother was probably doing the same thing to her or somebody else. It's
right?
a vicious cycle. And
Yeah.
if we don't talk about it, like I had somebody to tell me for the first time it happened to them.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're pretty much 50 years old. Then I had
Yep.
somebody else pretty much 30 something years old. Then I had somebody, so many people, and so many people suppress it because it
Yeah.
holds them hostage. And
Yeah.
you be able to let certain things out, it frees you,
Yeah.
in a way like never before, because like he said, so you can go on and live your life. I'm gonna end with this at the end. Let's talk about that last scene. Someone hit me up. Anthony Washington was like, the last scene is my favorite. It's just a powerful scene. So let's set that up. You want to set it up where he goes to Antoine goes to Davenport. You want to set it up?
Yeah. Well, he had come back from seeing his family,
Mhm.
and he's standing outside, and Dr.
Ooh,
Davenport is leaving for the day. And the first thing that Antoine says is, "I'm not a virgin anymore."
right, right, right. And he was like, what did he say? Something like, I'm glad. That's
I'm
good.
glad to hear that, something like that or
Yeah.
whatever. And then he tells him that he found his family,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, good,
Mm-hmm.
and he goes through the whole experience, and that's when Dr. Davenport thanks him.
Mm-hmm. No, because
He said,
first, because he's going thanking him, and
mm-hmm,
he's like, Dr. Davenport's like, no, you're the champ.
yeah,
You
he's
have
like
been beaten. You have beaten everybody that beat
everybody.
you. Woo!
And then
Woo!
and he says, he that's when he tells Anton about his son and his family, and he's like, I got the best doctors in the world for my wife, took care of her, did everything right. But then I had this young boy come into my office and blow everything up that I was supposed to
Mm,
be and do.
mm, mm, mm.
And it says, and then I like the last thing he said, "You hungry, sailor?"
But then what he said, he went back to what he said the girl would say. He said, I can eat. And they walk up
Yeah. And then they walk off saluting the soldiers, and that was true. That was, and it was really, it was a great movie. And like you said, I mean, to start your directorial debut off with such a strong, heavy, powerful movie like this, I expect nothing less
even
from
Derek Luke's
Denzel anyway.
and Derek Luke's first movie. Imagine you get
Yeah.
you talking about representation and something that you can bite into.
Your first movie out the gate.
Come on.
Your first movie out the gate is with Denzel
How
Washington.
about that? And the script is heavy. It ain't no soul plane.
You know what I'm saying? So I mean, but it's like that. That's hitting one out the park
Yeah.
from Jump Street.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm glad we decided to do this one first because remember we were talking about different ones and we talked about
Yeah.
Malcolm X. You was like, no, let's do Antwone Fisher first.
Yeah.
Malcolm X last, which makes total sense, to do that. And there's so many movies we have to decide what we're going to do. The other two that we're going to do.
Man, I was looking at Denzel's catalog. Ain't nowhere in the world.
But can we do one of my favorites with my sister Out of Time? Like I just love that movie.
Really? Okay.
I've seen it a million times and it still keeps me. I remember going to the movies to watch that with one of my girlfriends, right?
Uh-huh.
And I remember I was sitting up like this the whole time. There's something about that suspense. And I was one of them people that was talking in movies like, oh, no. When that fax was coming through, we're going to talk about that. Remember they were trying to catch that?
Mm-hmm.
But that was such a psychological type of, that was my movie. And what was his name? Messiah in that, I think.
I think so, yeah.
But we'll think about what movies we'll have. And maybe we'll add that with another one so we can definitely do all the movies. And if you guys are watching live or the playback, let us know in the comments your favorite Denzel movie, and maybe we'll choose that one for you. So let me know. All right, Leroy, what should they do as we get on out of here?
Well, we shouldn't even have to say it because I know they done already done it. They done already done it. They done already subscribed, commented, shared. Did I say share? Did I say share? Did I say share? Did I say share? So we need y'all to go on and do that and make sure. And I know I said this already, but make sure because we got only a couple weeks left.
To my birthday's next week. My birthday's next week.
Y'all, what's the deal, y'all?
Oh, but we still got some time.
Subscribe. We are our goal, our mission. Not if you choose to accept it, you are going to accept it. You ain't got no choice in the matter. That when you do this, the assignment is to get Miss Kendall to 1,000. That's 1000 subscribers by her birthday. That's what she wants for her birthday. She's asking y'all for her birthday. She don't want nothing else from y'all for her birthday, but to have 1,000 subscribers. Can y'all make that happen? That's all I'm saying. Can you make that happen? Don't cost you nothing, like Ashford Simpson said. Don't cost you nothing.
And also, everybody put a nickel in my Cash App. A nickel. If I get a nickel from everybody.
Get a nickel. Not the nickel.
The Cash App is scrolling at the bottom. If everybody can Cash App me 5 cents for my look. OMG. But thank you, Leroy. Of course, I wouldn't want to do this movie with anybody other than you. Like I started the show, I am going to end this show with Who Will Cry for the Little Boy. Whew. Love you, Leroy.
Love you, girl.
Right. So who will cry for the little boy? You will cry for the little boy lost and all alone. Who will cry for the little boy abandoned without his own?
Who will cry for the little boy? He cried himself to sleep. Who will cry for the little boy? He never had for keeps. Who will cry for the little boy? He walked the burning sand. Who will cry for the little boy? The boy inside the man. Who will cry for the little boy who knows well hurt and pain? Who will cry for the little boy? He died and died again. Who will cry for the little boy? A good boy he tried to be. Who will cry for the little boy who cries inside of me? Antwone Fisher. Thank y'all for watching. God bless. Peace.
Peace.